Life is short, and being in radio can grind it to a halt. Influence FM is for running your stations at your convenience, when you want, where you want. With Influence FM, you can now do the impossible. Enjoy your life, all the while knowing that Influence FM will notify you instantly about any anomalies. And with the flick of a thumb, you can see that your station's assets and operations are running at full speed. Go ahead, take that vacation. We dare you. We sell freedom, not software. Free yourself to do, well, precisely what you want.
All right, here we go. As it says, today is showtime. This is where we got to get out there and figure out how we're going to put it all together in front of a customer. It's a presentation. It could be called acting, whatever you want to call it. At some point, you're going to have to get out there and show what you know. So let's think about this a little bit. Let's talk about the contract. Now, yesterday when we were doing the ROI, one of the things I said is that some people think, well, what I ought to do is if the guy says, I'll take $20,000, go, geez, I got an order. It's not right. If you determine $50,000 will do what you need to do, then if you accept $20,000 and you think it's going to do half as well, how are you going to manage the expectations? All right? So let's do this. Don't order too much. Don't order too little. But one of the things you want to do is in your order, you better be able to justify it. And this comes from practice. Now, what I want to tell you this, I showed it to you right here. If you sell like the newspaper, you'll do much better. See, most of these people are used to buying X number of dollars per week in the newspaper. What you want to do here is sell like the newspaper. Now, most people are used to buying in the newspaper where they talk about what it's going to cost per week. And then we walk in radio and say how much it's going to cost per month, and you get a lot of difference there in the two. So you got to be ready to explain what you're going to do and how you do it. And then here's another one. How many contracts should I take with me? All right. I've heard a lot of people say you want to take three. You take a high and a medium and a low, where the medium is the one you actually want. The low you'll take, and you aim for the high knowing you got no chance of getting it. Listen, I've been to a few doctors in my life, and I've never seen one give me 3 prescriptions that says, here, I want you to take this one, but if you want to, go ahead and take this one, and if you're not going to, then go ahead and take that one. If you're figuring out how to make this work and you're showing the ROI, you walk in with one contract. That's how I do it. Your sales manager may disagree. But if you only got one shot, aren't you going to be more likely to take that shot? And by the way, you're going to train them. If you keep walking in with 3 contracts, they're going to keep looking for the 3 contracts. And if they can't see a benefit of the higher one over the lower one, you're always going to get the lower one. The next thing is your presentation tools. Now, are you still running on a mimeograph? I mean, are you taking out things that have been copied so many times they got all that junk on them? Or are you taking out something that has the customer's logo already on it in full color? Listen, in today's day and age, with how cheap all the computers are, with all of the free things that are out there to put together presentations, if you're using our software, Influence FM, it's got an entire section to build all your presentations. If you don't, go to Google. Again, open Google Drive. There's a presentation thing in there. There is a writer in there. There's a spreadsheet thing in there. You can make anything you want. Drag pictures in, do it all. Do you take it in on paper? You can. I like taking it in on a tablet. Some of these tablets now only cost a couple $100, and you'd invest that much in your career now, wouldn't you? Unless you're going to go out and beg your boss to buy you one. All right? It's the 21st century. Present like 21st century. By the way, I think I've told you that I have Bluetooth speakers I take out with me. I can't tell you how many of those I've had to give away. And by the way, I've also done presentations on tablets that I've ended up leaving behind the tablet. Well, the tablet costs $300. I just signed a $50,000 contract. Do you think I can spare it? What's your battle plan? What's your routine? I asked you to get a sparring partner, somebody who's going to give it back to you. But I also asked you to look in the mirror. Oh, yeah. Stand there and look, or in a camera like I'm doing right here, but look in the mirror and say, all right, you, what am I going to do today? I'm going to go in and I'm going to say this, and then say this to the mirror, and watch yourself when you say it and go, I don't look friendly, or I do look friendly, or I look stupid, whatever it's going to be, and work on it. Again, you're asking for the price of a car without giving them a car. Research, plan, practice. Then are you ready for anything? I'm going to tell you, it can happen. You can walk in and think you're making a presentation to one person. When you get there, the whole board of directors is there. Are you ready to stand up in front of a group and give your presentation? Do you have the tools? Do you have the talent? Did you plan for this? And by the way, another idea, never go on a closing alone. Always bring somebody with you, and I suggest you bring your sales manager or your general manager. And here's why, a little hint. You are not allowed to stray from the rate card, more than likely. You're not allowed to promise anything extra. I bring my sales manager along, and I say, great, here's the plan, and ba-da-da-da-da, and then I cue my sales manager in, and I shut up. Now, if he can't close this guy, how does he expect me to close him? Got that? If you bring the general manager, more than likely he'll close it. So think about who you're going to bring. If I were a salesman today, just out on my own, I would have somebody producing all my presentations. I'd be writing the ads, doing the research, and then I'd have my sales manager come with me. I'd say, here's the sales manager, sit back and let him go. And let all these people work for me, because that's what they're paid for. But then again, your sales manager may not agree with me. Next up, what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, the worst thing that could happen is you could say hi, and the guy pulls out a gun and blows you away. All right, so anything but that is obviously a little better now, isn't it? All right? Here's the things that can go wrong. The guy doesn't show up. They object instantly to you. They give you a price objection. They say, okay, come see me in March, or they just simply say no. Fine. Do you have a plan for each and every one of these? I do. The guy doesn't show up. I might stand there a while and say, well, where is he? When? I'll go see him right now, or whatever else I'm going to plan on that. Usually, though, if I'm coming, they're going to be there because I don't waste their time. You remember the guarantee I handed out the first day? I promise I will not waste your time and I will not waste your money. By the way, my assistant calls somebody 20 minutes before I'm going to arrive, and she says, he's at another appointment now, he's on his way to you next, just wanted to remind you. Now they can't sneak out the back door, they're committed. She doesn't say, are you going to be ready? I had a waitress yesterday at lunch say something to me that was so inspiring. She didn't say, how is everything? That's just like saying, how are you? She really doesn't want to know. What she came up to me and said, is everything delicious? What can I say? Instead of asking me an open-ended question, which is, how is everything? Open-end, can't answer yes or no. She asked me a closed-end question, is everything delicious? I said, yes. She said, good, and left. She had me commit to something. Same thing with my assistant. He's on his way there. Okay? Price objection. Price objection is always great. That means I like your idea, but you haven't justified the money to me yet. Delayed start. We don't want to start this until June. Fine, sign the contract. We'll get it in for June. Or a number of other things. Or just plain no, and we'll talk about no. Now, this is a very interesting graphic. I suggest you print this graphic out, and I suggest you put it over your desk. It couldn't be more true. I want you to look at the bottom, and this research is solid, and later I'll give you where it came from. 80%, 8 of 10 sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. Now, if you go my way, you may make a lot of them on the 3rd contact or the 4th, depending upon how you do it. But the problem is the average salesperson stops after one no and says, well, I'll come back in a month. And then they say, hey, just checking in, see if you want to do anything. Instead of starting from the beginning and starting all over again. Think about that a second. Think about a relationship. You're in a relationship with somebody and it all goes to crap. Do you try to walk back in where you left off, or do you start at the very beginning all over again? Or if somebody was doing it with you, how would you like it? I want them to start at the beginning, all over again, just the way it was in the beginning, okay? 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th call. 2% are made on the 1st, 3% on the 2nd, 5% on the 3rd, 10% on the 4th, which is where we are, which if you do it my way, you'll close 33%. But keep going back. But don't just show up. Go back with a purpose. All right, print that out and keep it. I say that most sales are torpedoed by the salesperson. They don't have the right amount of knowledge, or they don't stick to the plan, or they're timid, or whatever the heck else it is. Mostly it's lack of research and lack of planning and lack of coming in with something definite. They walk in and they come in with spec spots. It doesn't sell. Next time, do they walk back in with spec spots? In my experience, I found a lot of salespeople then walk in just with a package or something. No new ads, no new ideas. Or they come in saying, is there anything we can do for you now? No! Go back to the beginning and start again. And this comes where you say, what are my checkpoints and what are my timing? What am I going to do when? I'm going to tell them what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to come back. And where am I going to go in the cycle? If it falls out, I come right back in at the top and start from the beginning. Not a cold call, obviously. Maybe a little bit more of a CNA, but another idea. I'm going to tell you that if you keep bringing spec spots to somebody, I defy you to bring somebody 12 different spec spots over 2 months and not get bought. I defy you to do that. Now, you want to really spice up your presentation? First of all, I told you that I bring out my cell phone and a Bluetooth speaker. But if it's a big presentation, it happens in my office. Now, if you could see my office, there's a large screen TV, and I do mean large. And there's a sound system that could shake the walls in there. It's got way too much power. Usually if I'm having a bad day, you'll hear opera coming out, and my secretary runs for the hills. But what I'm telling you is, I've got this big screen. I've got the chair, the boardroom table with a very comfortable chair for them. I sit them down, and I say, now, I want you to hear what we have in mind. And they hear it in the best way they can. Want to go even further? Bring them in the studio. Play it from the studio. Your studios sound great, and they got lots of flashing lights and things that people like to look at. They want to look at the technology. They want to see the magic. But another thing you can do, and I've done this in years past, what I would do is call the disc jockey at the station and say, okay, listen, I'm going to be in car hardware at 10 minutes of. So first in the stop set, do the weather, and then right after that, I want you to play his ad. Now what happens? I'm standing there talking to the guy, and I've got the radio going in the store because I know it's there, or I bring one, and I say, hang on, I want you to hear something. And he gets done with the weather, and I crank it up, and there's his ad. And I said, that's the idea I have for you. He goes, did that just go on the air? I said, yeah, why did you hear it the way it would sound on the air? Now what happened? This guy thinks, wow, I just got something for nothing, or man, that's special. But he also gets to hear it presented exactly the way it's going to be presented. Did I give him a free ad? Yeah. So what? And now he's heard it. Now, you say, well, that's kind of hard to do. My station's a network station. Don't say satellite in front of me. It's a network station. Fine. Put the ad first in the stop set. Time it all out so you have it. Or just record the whole thing. But I'm just saying, this is a little razzmatazz. This is a little doing something special. Now, here is my idea of the perfect closing call. It's a maximum of 25 minutes. Not a minimum, a maximum. I come in, I tell you what I'm going to tell you, then I tell you, then I show you, then I ask for the order, I ask for the order, I ask for the order. I plan my follow-up, when I'm going to be back, what I'm going to do, whether he says yes or no. Then I'm going to do a Columbo on him. Oh, what's a Columbo? Let me tell you what a Columbo is. In case you're not old enough to remember the Columbo series, look it up on YouTube. He was a detective, an old dirty raincoat, and he always looked like he didn't know what was going on. But then he turned around and go, one more thing. And the one more thing was the sinker. So I might get done with you and you didn't buy from me and whatnot, and I say, well, that's great. And listen, if I have another idea that I think can work, can I come back? There's my closed-end question. He'll say yes, good. And I turn to go and I say, wait a minute. You know, if I didn't tell you about this, you'd be ticked off at me later. We've got the Christmas shows coming up, and we're selling the hours of them, a place for you to say thanks to the customers and this, that, and everything else. I just wanted to show you this and see if you had any interest. That's my Columbo, whatever your Columbo is. Or if you have a shopping show or a website, things like that. That's where you drop your Columbo. And then you say, well, thanks very much. And then you turn and you go, wait a minute, there is one more thing. This is called the Nibble. I'm going to tell you that if you do this on a regular basis, it'll do wonders for your personal business and your radio station's business. So here comes the Nibble. I go, wait a minute, I forgot one thing. You know, I see most of the movers and shakers in this town on a weekly basis, the kind of people you'd like to see here in your business, the kind of people you'd like to do business with. Can you give me $10, $25 gift certificates that I can give some of these people so they can try out your business and maybe turn into regular customers for you? You'd be surprised how many times they say yes. Now what happens? I leave with these in my back pocket. I walk into my next guy and say, hey, by the way, just something. I just was talking to this other guy down here that owns a floral shop. And would you do me a favor? Here's a $25 gift certificate. Would you go in there and just order some flowers, take them home to your wife? And then when I come back, can you tell me what your experience was like? Because I'm trying to work on some marketing for him. What do you think happens? This guy says, yeah, thanks. I've done it with restaurants, I've done it with florists, I've done it with all kinds of car wash places. I've done it with all these people where I walk out with those things and I say this and then I bring it back. Now what happens? This guy, I come back later and say, hey, listen, I sent Joe from the hardware store over here. Did he ever come for the flowers? He goes, yeah, he did. Okay, what'd you think of him? And now I'm involving them in the process. But what I'm doing is I'm building this micro network between these people that all deal with me. Now I go back to that guy who got the thing, and the next time I'm in there talking to him, I turn around and go, wait a minute, you know something? On the average day, I see most of the movers and shakers in this town, the kind of people you'd like in your store, the kind of people you'd like to have as customers. Can you give me $50 gift certificates so I can send them in for a free dinner and then evaluate this place and give me some ideas? Yes, and on you go. People forget to nibble, but I'm going to tell you that if you nibble every single time, get a little something, you start connecting people, forming your own private network. So, you have to do all that in 25 minutes or less. Now, you get a no. Oh boy. What you do in the next 24 hours from that no is absolutely critical. What you do in the next 24 hours. He's fresh in mind. I get a kick out of people when you go to a car dealership and I go see a salesman and I'm looking at a car and I leave without buying it, which rarely happens. If I walk on the lot, usually I know what I want. I leave with a car. But if I leave without it, in 24 hours, that salesman should drive to my office and say, you know, I want to make sure you're not having non-buyer's remorse. Why don't you take this car for the afternoon? Tell me what you think. Now, the Lincoln I bought went something like that. And the salesman, I said to I'll go drive the car. And then after I drove the car for a little while, because I did want the car, I just called him up and said, listen, I'm not coming back with it. Why don't you just meet me with the paperwork? And on you go. So if this person in 24 hours doesn't do it, I might stop back at 5:30 that afternoon or 7 o'clock tomorrow morning and say, listen, I know this didn't go right. I just want to know where I screwed up. Was it too much money? And they might say yes or no. Was it the ads? Yes or no? Are you just no? And eventually they're going to come out with what it is. And then you go, good, thanks. I had to get that straight in my mind because I want to know what I did wrong. And so what you're telling me is if I had come in with a contract that was for this much money with those ads, it would have worked for you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he says that, he just closed himself. Now you have to figure out if that contract at that level or something like it can work. And if it is, you're right back in the game. Inside of 24 hours. A handwritten thank you note inside of 24 hours. A small thank you gift for spending 25 minutes of your day with me. Whatever it is, contact within 24 hours. I'm going to tell you, you're going to be surprised how many of these things you can turn around or at least get right back into the motion so that you can try again. I'm going to tell you that no does not always mean no when it comes to sales. Sometimes no means not right this minute, or maybe not, or you haven't quite sold me yet. Now let me also talk to you about this. Unlike a lot of other businesses, we can go out and resell an idea. Don't waste a prospect. Also, don't waste an idea. Here's what I mean. You go to this city and say, okay, show me all the other places I can sell this to. There's nothing that makes a customer more angry than hearing the ads that were pitched to them used somewhere else. Make sure in your media kit you specify the fact that our ads are ours until you buy them. If you use them on our radio stations, the ideas are yours. But get out there and pitch those ads to somebody else. Just have them redone. Always recycle an idea until it sells. Now we want to talk about presenting the annual contract, all right? So you've practiced your opening, you practiced your elevator speech, you practiced your executive summary. You're going to do that again tonight. You're going to do a 15-minute closing call with your sales manager today. And you're going to do it as the bakery. The other day you did the schedule, then you did the ROI. You've got everything you need, including the ads now, that I want you to pitch your sales manager as the bakery. I want you to rehearse with your sparring partner. 5 opening objections. I want you to do them over and over again until you got them. That's today. All right? You are to complete 3 cold calls today. You are to make an appointment for another CNA today. By now, you should have at least 4 at the end of today. At least 4. All right? I want you to write 3 business ads for an ad that you've either cold called or already done a CNA with and play these for your sales manager. All of this is your homework for tonight. If you do not have 4 CNAs scheduled by the end of tonight, get help from your sales manager, redouble your efforts. By now, you should have already completed your first CNA. I'll see you, I hope, tomorrow.
Life is short, and being in radio can grind it to a halt. Influence FM is for running your stations at your convenience, when you want, where you want. With Influence FM, you can now do the impossible. Enjoy your life, all the while knowing that Influence FM will notify you instantly about any anomalies. And with the flick of a thumb, you can see that your station's assets and operations are running at full speed. Go ahead, take that vacation. We dare you. We sell freedom, not software. Free yourself to do, well, precisely what you want.